Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
It's so nice to be here. I missed you guys last week.
You too.
Yeah, we were in Iowa. Recognizing that 50 years from high school isn't really that long, come on. All right. So, I love that song because that's what we're all about here this month, getting ready to go deeper. And we're talking about words of wisdom from this teaching. And last week, Reverend Joanne did a statement of truth from Ernest Holmes, and it was, we believe in the healing of the sick and the power of this mind. Isn't that beautiful? So today, we're going to look at that wisdom. We're going to look at that wisdom of healing. And I'm going to focus on the wisdom of healing one's body. But the same wisdom applies to any healing one needs to do about self-esteem and self-confidence and relationships and life and worthiness, right? It all kind of comes from that same idea, is what we think about is what we bring about. So, I'm going to start with a story first about Phineas Quimby. Now, most people consider Quimby like the founder of New Thought. All right? And he became the founder because there was a given turning point in his life that changed everything for this eye doctor. So, Quimby was sick for a very long time. He had tuberculosis. Tuberculosis is also known as, well, what else was it known as? Consumption, thank you. Anyway, he was in constant pain. And he was kind of a grumpy guy because he was in such pain. He could hardly, get around to walking. This was in the mid-1800s. And one day, a friend came by with a brand new buggy and said, please come with me for a buggy ride. And he was not going to take no for an answer. So reluctantly, he agreed. He had no choice. He thought, all right, what the heck, we're just going to get this over with and I won't have to ever do it again. So they're riding around in the countryside and they start talking, and his friend starts pointing out different things, like, have you ever seen a tree like this, and different plants, and they just started talking, and they started talking about their childhoods, and they had a delightful time. He got so absorbed in the moment. So hours later, when they came back to town, Quimby hops out of the buggy, takes a few steps, and he turns around and he says with a really big laugh, well, I forgot to be sick today. That moment changed his life. Because he stepped beyond, right?
Yeah.
He realized that when his mind was absorbed in curiosity and joy and fellowship and community and nature, illness lost its control. Because all of those God qualities took over. After that, I forgot I was sick. I forgot to be sick. He became fascinated with this idea of the mind and body connection. Fascinated. And he began to experiment on how he could change his mental focus to one of health, to one of wholeness, and how that change could ease the pain that he was feeling. He studied mesmerism. Mesmer is the other guy that some claim was the founder of this. He was from Austria, and he did what is now known as hypnosis. Mesmerism he was all about, let's talk, and here's your affirmation, and say this affirmation 1,000 times a day, right? But he studied mesmerism, and he realized that how your belief could influence everything else. He became a healer. He treated thousands of people as it relates to their illnesses. Instead of drugs, he had conversations and he had suggestions and provided them a new mental image of who they were. And then he developed his own theory that false beliefs, when we look at false beliefs and allow them to appear real, we lose our control. And he influenced so many people. He influenced Mary Baker Eddy, who went on to find Christian Science. She had a terrible back issue, and within months, essentially, that buggy ride was not only the turning point for him, but it was the turning point for the entire New Thought movement. Because now there was this principle based on faith, based on the truth, right here in the United States, instead of in Europe. Ernest Holmes once said, "I would rather see a student of this science prove its principles than to have him repeat all of the words of wisdom that have ever been uttered. It is far easier to teach the truth than to practice it." And that's what I want to look at today. Because it is, you guys. It's so much easier to sit around and talk about it. It's another thing to implement it. It's another thing to share it, right? It's another thing to come here together in a community and say, you know, I love this teaching, but here's what's going on in my world, and I need community support to allow those false beliefs to truly become false. I think it takes, and these are the three things we're going to look at today, I think it takes an ability to look beyond appearances, beyond what we can see and feel in front of us, and then a willingness to take personal responsibility. And then we need to be disciplined in our thinking. Now, at least one, if not more of those, are challenging, especially when there's stuff going on, right? But that's why we're here together, is to remind ourselves of that truth and to support ourselves in that. To be present when we're not necessarily always able to be present ourselves. So today I want to look at these spiritual how-tos and the power that we have to forget that we're sick. Sick, tired, frustrated, angry, forget it, and move back into that spiritual truth of joy and of beauty and of love. It's not just about our health. It's about our relationship and our money, our self-worth, our dignity. It's about all of that. And as each of us step into claiming that, we get to have an impact not only on our lives, but on the lives of those around us. We get to have that impact of taking our truth and our power back to influence the cosmic consciousness of that truth, that goodness. So let's first start by looking beyond appearances. To me, that is all about not letting this outer stuff hold more power than this inner goodness. The outer does not have the final word. It is our inner truth that always has the final word. It is that we take with us as we move forward. I think we've all had instances where something was going on in our life and it was just, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening to me. And I'm never going to get over it. Right? How many of us got over it? And how many of us really learned a lot in the process, right? Ernest Holmes, healing is not a process, but a revelation. For revealing the perfect man always heals. Myrtle Fillmore. She came from a family that had chronic tuberculosis. Everyone in her family. It was a history that went back for as long as she knew. And so she tried everything medically, and nothing worked. She was in such pain and such misery. And at the same time this was going on, these radical healing ideas were starting to really take hold, right? This was in the early 1880s. And it was really starting to take hold here in the States. So there was a gentleman by the name of E.B. Wilkes who came to Kansas City, where Myrtle was, and she went to hear him. Her husband stayed home. She went. And she heard one thing from this man. I am a child of God, and therefore I do not inherit sickness. It hit her like a lightning bolt. She didn't hear anything else that was said. That. She just knew that that was her truth. She felt it. And so for the next 2 years, every day she would affirm this truth. She would spend time talking lovingly to her body. She would picture these perfect cells. Anytime the idea of limitation because of her disease came up, she just let it go and moved on to her affirmations. And before you knew it, her entire physical condition changed. She and her husband Charles went on to found the Unity Church, all based on mental healing. When we look beyond appearances, we get to align ourselves with that creative power that is always pressing to say, use me, right? Listen to me. Understand that you and I are one, and we can do anything. That oneness that is saying, forget any sickness, any illness, any stress, any idea of anything that's not perfect. Forget it. And reclaim your truth. Which leads us right to that idea of taking personal responsibility. There's a New Thought minister, David Ritz, and he said once, "Ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall set you free." But first it'll really tick you off. And tick was not the word he used, okay? But isn't that true? We can know the truth and it will set us free, but we have to, we got to suit up and show up, and we got to be responsible. But when I'm talking about responsible, I'm talking about being responsible here forward. I'm not talking about taking the blame. Really. Because life isn't that cut and dry, right? There are challenges. There's stress. There's the environment. There's the political crazy. There's heart issues, and there's cancer issues, and there's stuff. There's that cosmic consciousness constantly influencing us. So the idea is not to blame oneself for what's going on. It's really not. We live in a complex world. We are complex people. And we're becoming more and more complex as time goes on. Genetics, the list happens. So it's not about saying, why did this happen to me? Because I want to make sure it never happens again. It's not about beating oneself up. Taking responsibility is about, for me, it's about what can I do from here, right? Here's where I'm at. I can only start here. So from here, what action can I take? And that, I believe, is using every spiritual tool in your toolkit. Because it's all God. So it's about prayer. It's about meditation, affirmations, positive reading, gathering in communities like this. It's also about doctors and psychologists and medicine and all of those other God divine things. It's about using all of it to move from where we are to where we want to be. Because it all works in conjunction. It doesn't compete. It's not one or the other. It's all of it. It's Western medicine. It's Eastern medicine. It's sitting in the silence of one's own company. It is all of that. So here's the next story. Viktor Frankl, you guys have all heard of him, right? He was a psychiatrist. He survived the horrors of Nazi concentration camps. And he realized that they took almost everything from him. His family, his profession, his health, almost everything they took from him. But then he discovered one powerful truth. And he writes, everything can be taken away from one, but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances, to choose one's way. Isn't that beautiful? See, he realized that his captors, they could control his body. They could control his environment. They could control his day-to-day activities. They couldn't control his mind. They couldn't break his heart. He had mental freedom, which was a source of strength for him that no one could take away. And that's true for us, no matter how it's looking, right? We have the freedom to choose. To choose to stay, the freedom to choose to rise. This is, to me, a vital lesson of taking personal responsibility. For our consciousness does not mean blaming ourselves or even blaming others. It is about staying true to one's truth, to one's heart. It's about knowing whatever's out there cannot impact my love of myself, my truth of who and whose I really am. That's true for each of us. It's a matter of aligning back with that truth. So here's an affirmation I'd like you to read with me. Let's declare this together. I am free to choose my thoughts. I am free to align with spirit. No circumstance outside of me can control my inner peace and power. I take full responsibility for my consciousness, and in that freedom, I find strength, healing, and direction. And so it is. That is really our truth. Responsibility is about standing in your power. It's about saying, yes, I am co-creating this life from this moment forward. One thought, one statement of truth, one blessing of gratitude at a time. Which takes us to the idea of discipline. The disciplining of our thoughts. Oh, this is a big one, you guys, right? It's such a big one because it's so easy to go down. The Bhagavad Gita has this wonderful line in it, and it says, curving back within myself, I create again and again. Curving back into myself, I create again and again. What I focus on, what I put my attention on, where I allow my thoughts and my emotions to go, it is curving back to me again and again as I create more and more of it. Isn't that lovely? So, it's not about focusing on the out there. It's about focusing on what we know is our truth. And it's about recognizing that there is stress. There is stuff. But when we go back to our truth, to our power, we step into that power, studies have shown that it lowers stress. It improves our immunity. It even aids in recovery. And they've scientifically proven that. So the question is not whether I should discipline my thoughts, right? The real question is, can I afford the consequences of what I am thinking? Can I afford that? Can I afford to be angry, upset? Can I afford to be full of fear, worry, and doubt? Can I afford that? I think all of us know the answer to that is no. But it's about answering that question, right? Can I afford this thought, this emotion, this feeling? Joe Dispenza is a neuroscientist. He's done some really wonderful work, he has written some great books. And his studies are all about the fact that our thoughts can influence the brain and the body, and we can consciously heal. His research has shown that our brains are kind of plastic, kind of like a record album. We can re-groove it. We can retrain it, rewire it. That when we focus daily on wellness, on wholeness, on all of those God qualities, rather than our limitations, we can create these neural pathways that are new and allow us to heal faster. He has shown that mental focus can change your entire brain chemistry, and different areas of your brain light up. He wrote a book, You Are the Placebo, which tells some great stories of people who have healed themselves. And it's all about meditation and visualization. It's all about affirmations, creating that clear, positive knowledge. Let's affirm this, shall we? Join me. I am the center of my health and well-being. I am, right? Yeah. Oh, I am the creator of my health and well-being. With each thought, I rewire my brain towards healing and vitality. I release all fear and limitation. My mind is focused on wellness. My body responds with strength and balance. Every cell in my body knows how to heal, regenerate. I am grateful for the infinite power within me to create vibrant health. That truth happens. And as we allow our thoughts to be more disciplined towards our good, towards our real truth and power, we can create a powerfully focused life, a wonderful life. So here's some key takeaways, right? When we look beyond appearance, like Myrtle Fillmore did, when we take personal responsibility for our consciousness, our mental freedom, our heart, like Viktor Frankl did, without blaming others, and when we discipline our thinking, knowing that we're curving back to create, when we stop remembering to be sick in mind, in body, in heart, we can do anything. Anything. This week, your assignment, if you choose to take it, is to ask yourself that question. Can I afford to be thinking this thought, feeling this feeling, taking this action? Can I afford it? Do I want it to influence my world? That is where our power is. And it's not always easy to stand in your power, but it's always so rewarding. And we are blessed. We have a group of practitioners here at this center that if you can't know where your power source is, we can know it for you. You have a community here that if you can't remember your truth, oh man, we can celebrate it with you. So let's be grateful for that blessing. And let's say, yes, I can afford that thought, because it's a thought that is centered in God qualities, in my truth, in my life. One more affirmation. You ready? Let's take this one on. Today I see beyond appearance. I take full responsibility for my consciousness. I discipline my thinking to align with the truth. I live as a powerful, joyful, healthy expression. Spirit. We are all born with inherent wholeness. See that. Know that. Take responsibility for that. For that. And may this week just be the best buggy ride of your life. And so it is.